He had done everything they told him to do. Budgeted, cut expenses, avoided debt, worked extra hours, read the books, watched the videos, followed the advice of every credible voice he could find. And yet, at the end of every single month, without variation, without exception, the number in his account was almost exactly the same as it had been the month before. Not decreasing, not increasing. Like a ceiling made of glass, invisible, unmovable, and completely unexplained by anything in the conventional financial playbook. He was not lazy. He was not ignorant. He was not making the obvious mistakes. And that was the part that was quietly destroying him, not just financially, but psychologically. Because when you do everything right and nothing changed, the conclusion the mind reaches is not that the advice was wrong. The conclusion the mind reaches is that something is wrong with you. That conclusion was the real trap, and it had nothing to do with his budget. What nobody had told him, what almost nobody in the financial space will say directly, because it is uncomfortable and it does not sell courses, is that the struggle he was experiencing had a cause that existed entirely outside the spreadsheet, outside the income column, outside the expense tracker. It lived in a place that financial education almost never investigates, a place most people spend their entire lives completely unaware of. It lived in the story he believed about himself and money, and that story had been written before he was old enough to question it. Here is what the research in behavioral economics has consistently found, and what the self-help financial industry consistently ignores. The financial decisions a person makes as an adult are not primarily driven by the financial knowledge they have accumulated. They are primarily driven by the emotional and psychological framework around money that was formed in childhood, often before the age of 7, through observation, experience, and the unconscious absorption of beliefs from the people closest to them. This framework is called a financial schema, and it operates beneath conscious awareness, running in the background of every decision like software the user never sees and never installs manually. It simply came with the machine. His machine had been loaded with specific code, not malicious, not deliberate, just the inevitable byproduct of growing up in an environment where money was scarce, where financial stress was the permanent background noise of daily life, where the adults around him operated from a specific set of beliefs so consistent and so unexamined that they had the weight of fact rather than opinion. Money is hard to get. People like us don't accumulate wealth. Getting ahead means someone else loses. Wanting more than you have is selfish. Financial comfort is for other people. He had never been taught these beliefs explicitly. He had absorbed them through the atmosphere. The way children absorb language not through instruction, but through immersion. Not through lessons, but through watching how the adults in the room moved through the world. And here is the mechanism that makes this so difficult to see and so destructive in its effects. When a belief is absorbed before conscious thought is fully developed, it does not feel like a belief. It feels like reality. It does not feel like an opinion that can be examined and revised. It feels like a fact about how the world actually works. And the brain, operating from that foundation, does not present it for reconsideration. It presents it as the lens through which everything else is evaluated. This is why financial education alone does not produce financial change. You can teach a person every technically correct principle of wealth accumulation, while their subconscious schema is quietly, efficiently, and visibly neutralizing every strategy before it can take hold. The information enters at one level. The sabotage operates at a deeper one. And because the sabotage is unconscious, it does not announce itself. It arrives dressed as logic, as practicality, as a reasonable read of the situation. Stop for a moment and ask yourself something honestly. Is there a version of financial success that, somewhere beneath the wanting, actually feels unsafe to you? Not uncomfortable. Unsafe, like it would cost something beyond money. Something harder to name. If that question touches something real, go to the comments and write deeper than money. Because what you just identified is not weakness. It is the map of where the real work needs to happen. Back to him. The mechanism that kept his account flat was not a spending problem. It was an identity problem. and it expressed itself in ways that were completely invisible to standard financial analysis. Every time his income approached a level that exceeded what his internal schema had defined as appropriate for someone like him, the sabotage would begin. Not consciously, not with any deliberate intention, but with a reliability that, once you could see it, was almost mathematical. A new expense would materialize. A business opportunity would suddenly seem too risky to pursue. A raise would arrive and be absorbed into lifestyle inflation so quickly it left no trace. A savings milestone would be followed, within weeks, by a reason to withdraw. The technical term for this is self-concept consistency. The brain, at a deep structural level, works to maintain coherence between external reality and internal. When external circumstances begin to diverge from the internal story, when the bank account starts looking like it belongs to someone different from who you believe yourself to be, the brain moves to close the gap. Not by revising the story, by revising the circumstances. This is why you can give some people a significant sum of money and within a predictable time, often documented in research on lottery winners and inheritance recipients, they will return to their previous financial position. It is not bad luck. It is identity maintenance. The money that exceeded the internal schema was, to the deepest operating layer of the brain, a foreign object, and the body rejects foreign objects. He did not know any of this. That is the point. That is always the most powerful forces operating in a human financial life are the ones that have never been named, never been examined, never been brought into the light where they could be evaluated against something other than themselves. And here is the layer beneath that layer, the one that makes this genuinely dangerous rather than merely inconvenient. Because the schema operates unconsciously, it does not experience itself as a limitation. It experiences itself as wisdom. The reluctance to invest does not feel like fear rooted in childhood scarcity. It feels like prudence. The tendency to spend unexpected income immediately does not feel like unconscious identity maintenance. It feels like enjoying life, like rewarding effort, like the sensible acknowledgement that tomorrow is not guaranteed. The avoidance of wealth-building behavior does not feel like self-sabotage. It feels like values. This is the architecture of a hidden trap. It wears the clothes of virtue. It speaks in the voice of reason. And because it presents itself as the person's own authentic perspective, rather than as an inherited script, it is almost impossible to challenge without first making it visible. So how do you make it visible? Not through budgeting, not through motivation, not through the kind of surface-level financial restructuring that treats the symptom while leaving the root completely undisturbed. The research on this from behavioral economists, from financial therapists, from the emerging field of financial psychology points consistently toward one starting place: the earliest memories. Not the facts of childhood finances, the feelings. The first time money appeared in your emotional awareness, what accompanied it? Anxiety, shame, secrecy, conflict, or, for some people, absence of complete, loaded silence around the subject that communicated everything while saying those early emotional experiences are where the schema was formed. And tracing current financial behavior back to those origins genuinely, honestly, without the self-protective instinct to reframe everything as fine, is the beginning of a process that no spreadsheet can replicate. Think about your earliest money memory. Not what you learned, what you felt. Who was in the room? What the atmosphere carried. Go to the comments and share it in one sentence. Not because it is easy, because the people reading those comments are going to recognize themselves in what you write. And that recognition, the realization that this is not a personal failure, but a human mechanism, is one of the most valuable things this channel can offer. Here is the deep truth. The financial struggle that most people experience is not a knowledge problem. The information required to build wealth is widely available, thoroughly documented, and not particularly complicated. The real problem is that knowledge operates at the conscious level, while the schema operates beneath it. And when those two systems conflict, the schema wins. Not sometimes, consistently, not because the person is weak, but because unconscious architecture is older, faster, and more deeply wired than conscious intention. The reason he was struggling financially was not in his bank account. It was in the unexamined story he had been handed before he was old enough to evaluate it. A story that said the ceiling was real, that comfort was that anything beyond it was not for someone like him. He eventually found his way to that story, not quickly, not easily, through a process that was less like financial planning and more like excavation. Uncomfortable, non-linear, deeply personal excavation. But when he reached it, when he could finally see the story as a story rather than as reality, something shifted that no budget ever could have moved. The ceiling did not disappear overnight. But for the first time, he could see that it was made of something other than fact. And that distinction between what is real and what is a story that was handed to you before you had the ability to refuse it might be the most financially significant thing you will encounter this year. Not the interest rate, not the investment vehicle, not the savings percentage, the story. So here's the question worth sitting with before you open another finance video, read another strategy, or build another budget that produces another month of the same result. What is the earliest belief about money you can remember? And did you choose it? Or did it choose you?